Holy smokes, guys, Snapchat stock has gone absolutely parabolic. As of taking this screenshot, Snapchat stock is up over 47% today, guys. Almost a 50% move in a one-day span. This is incredible. It's very rare that a company Snapchat size ever moves almost 50% in a day. This is absolutely crazy. And this is for a few reasons. We're going to get into their earnings numbers and all that. I want to take you through an illustration here in just a second. So we just saw how much the straight stock is up, right? But if you look at call options, okay, look at how much some of these call options are up. 1,500% on the $16 strikes. The $17 strikes up 2,700% today. The 1850s up 4,300. The 19s up 4,200% in a day, guys, in a day. So let me take you through an illustration real quick just to kind of show you some things, okay? So let's say, you had insight, you had belief that Snapchat was going to beat these numbers, and we're going to look at the numbers here in just a second. So you had insight that Snapchat's probably going to beat these numbers pretty easily. Either maybe, you work for a company, an advertising company that's advertising more on Snapchat, and you're like, man, these ad rates we're having to pay are more expensive, and we're getting good results from them. And, I bet you a lot of companies are doing this out there. And maybe you're on Snapchat, and maybe you're seeing more and more ads, and you're like, this company's getting more and more advertising revenue in. Maybe you're looking at the news out there, and just a few months ago, a big, huge advertising firm said they would be spending a lot more money on Snapchat. So maybe you're looking at news like that, and you're like, if that huge advertising firm's doing that, then probably a lot more. So they're probably going to beat these numbers very easily. Analysts has brought them down. So you're like, I want to play this earnings play, okay? So there's a couple ways you could have done it. You could have bought the stock straight up, okay? So let's say you had $1,000 you were willing to risk on this earnings, okay? You're basically just playing it for earnings. Now, me personally, I am horrible at short-term trading. That's not something I do well at all. I'm a long-term investor. When I long-term invest in companies, 95+% of the time, it works out for me. When I short-term trade, it does not. But let's say you want to do the short-term trade, okay? So you got $1,000 you're willing to risk. So you buy $1,000 worth of Snapchat stock yesterday, okay? The earnings are coming out. You're like, I think this stock's going to skyrocket on these earnings. So basically, based upon what the stock went up, you would have made around a profit in a day of around $470 based upon where the price was at when I took that screenshot there. That's a really amazing profit in a day, guys. Like, that's crazy to only invest $1,000, make $470. Now think about if you had $10,000, you would have made $4,700. Think about if you had $100,000, now we're talking, $47,000. Like, the numbers start getting crazy, right? But that's not the only way you could have played it. So we looked at those call options there, right? You could have gone with something like, okay, I don't want to risk $1,000. I have $1,000 I could risk, but you know what? I only want to risk $100, okay? So you risk $100 and you buy some of those call options that are expiring on this coming Friday, right? You're basically only playing this for an earnings. So you buy some of those call options. You put $100 into some of those call options. So you risk way less money, obviously. Now, with call options, if that stock went down, you would have lost all your money, correct? Or you would have lost all $100. But we could say the same if you would put $1,000 in the stock, right? And it went down. Obviously, you're going to lose probably at least $100 there as well, okay? So you risk the $100, you buy these call options, right? And let's say you bought those call options that are up, 4,200%. Basically, you made a profit of $4,200 in a one-day period off of a $100 investment, guys. A $100 investment, you just made a profit of $4,200 in a day. That is crazy. Now think if you had done $1,000, obviously the more money, it's the riskier and riskier, but think about the way the numbers can go up in a day, guys. It gets to be absolutely unbelievable. So options can be very powerful for any of you guys out there that are doing short-term stuff. Make sure if you have not already gotten in my stock market membership group, you get in there. That's got a full 12-part options course in there that will teach you everything you need to know about options. Third link in the description there. You can cancel your membership at any time. Most people that join it love to be in there long term. All right, guys, let's get into these numbers here. So Snapchat. So the first thing I think when I think about like a stock going up parabolically like that is I think, what's the short interest on that stock? We got to have some type of, basically a huge amount of shares that are short, and there's a short squeeze type situation going on. So as of January 12th, this is the most recent information I could find, there was short interest totaling 94 million shares, guys. 94 million shares short as of January 12th, okay? So basically almost close to 25% of the shares outstanding are actually shorted, okay? So which means if you have a situation when the stock beats huge and all of a sudden investors start to pile in the stock, the shorts all of a sudden start having to be forced to cover their shares, right? Otherwise they're going to get killed even more and more. When they cover their shares even more and more, what ends up happening, that stock shoots up more and more because basically they're buying back shares. So it puts even more buyers into the stock, guys. So it creates a situation like this where the stock just goes absolutely unbelievably insane in a day, okay? So let's look at these actual numbers here. Snapchat's fourth quarter numbers were significantly higher than Wall Street expectations, with sales of $285 million, or a 72% increase over the same period last year, and they lost $350 million. That's a huge loss, by the way, there, guys. That's a huge loss. Loss of $350 million, but analysts were expecting somewhere around $255 million, so that's a pretty decent beat there on the top line, and they were expecting them to lose around $405 million on the bottom line there. So they lost less money than they were supposed to lose. They had more revenue than they were supposed to have. So those are two very good things, and there's also some better things we're going to look into here in just a second. So in a letter to investors issued today, Spiegel lays out the case for Snapchat's willingness to respond to increased competition from Facebook and Snapchat's growth struggles. He also writes at length in Snapchat's redesign. Additionally, we believe the redesign has also made the application simpler and easier to use, especially for older users, which is very key. If Snapchat really wants to succeed over the long term, they definitely got to get older users online. Advertisers pay a lot of money to get in the faces of 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds. If they're not going to ever get those, then you're going to be very limited, right? Compared to the old design, core metrics around content consumption and time spent in the redesigned application are disproportionately higher for users over the age of 35 years old, which bodes well for increasing engagement among older users, and that will continue to grow the business, okay? Now, what also excited Wall Street was not just that they beat on revenue and they lost less money than they were supposed to lose, but also the daily active users came in at 187 million. That was versus 184 million was expected. So that's a very nice beat there on daily active users. Also, average revenue per user, ARPU, came in with a very nice beat. They came in with $1.53 per user compared to around $1.36 was expected, okay? So Snapchat, as far as Snapchat goes, you guys know I'm a long-term believer in the company. I've said that many times when I've talked about Snapchat in the past. I've never personally bought into Snapchat. My wife bought into a little bit of shares. She's like less than 2% of her shares are in Snapchat. She bought in those in the IPO. I've never personally bought into Snapchat, not because I don't believe in it, because I do for the long term, just because I don't like owning these companies that are losing tons of money, guys. I did that with GoPro, and we saw what happened to me with GoPro. I got absolutely destroyed with that stock. So therefore, I believe in buying profitable businesses. Snapchat is not a profitable business. It will not be a profitable business anytime in the short term, maybe potentially long term, but these stocks are too dangerous for someone like myself to get into, so which is why I don't play with any of these companies that are losing tons of money, and I just have no interest in it. There's too much to be seen down the road. I like buying profitable companies that actually have a PE ratio on them, not companies that are losing $350 million in a quarter. But I do believe in Snapchat for the long term. We're going to see where that business goes. Next story up here is Steve Wynn. Oh boy, he has finally stepped down as CEO. I told you guys he should have done this quite a while ago. I'm surprised he waited so long to do it. So he has stepped down now. This came out last night. It is with our collective heavy heart that the board of directors of Wynn Resort today accepted the resignation of founder, CEO, and friend Steve Wynn. One of our directors said, Wynn has obviously denied the accusations of misconduct several times and whatnot. In the last couple, this is coming from Wynn now, in the last couple weeks, I've found myself the focus of an avalanche of negative publicity, Wynn said in a statement, as I have reflected upon the environment this has created, one in which a rush to judgments takes precedence over everything else, including the facts. I have reached the conclusion I cannot continue to be effective in my current roles, okay? And so basically Wynn Resorts has appointed Matt Maddox. I thought they would probably appoint him as CEO now of the company, okay? A lot of people are like, saying this might be horrible for the company, might be, good for the company. In my opinion, because of the chance that they could potentially potentially, lose gaming licenses because this is a black eye, in the Macau market. We know the Boston property is getting built right now. You don't want a situation where your CEO and one of your biggest shareholders of the company, the face of the company, the chairman of the board, is in these type of accusations and in these type of situations where this lawsuit comes out that was never, where he basically settled for $7.5 million. This information was never came out in a lot of these, public hearings and whatnot. It's a bad situation, guys. In my opinion, he had to step down. I mentioned this back, a week or two ago whenever the news broke. I said, I think he's just got to step down at this point in time. He finally made a decision. I'm sure it's a hard decision for him because it's a company he founded. That's never an easy decision to make, obviously, guys. So very interesting here. So having served as CEO and chairman of Wynn Resorts since 2002, the billionaire mogul has agreements in place that could force a casino operator to pay him a sum of money hefty enough to sustain the economy of an island nation. Steve Wynn, whose net worth of around $3.4 billion, more after today because the stock is up, I think, close to 10% today, may collect more than $330 million for stepping down, even though he's under fire for sexual harassment accusations, okay? So let's look here. So as founder of Wynn Resorts, however, Steve Wynn's long-standing employment agreement provides for a massive severance package if he is terminated without cause or by his own violation for good reason. What does that mean, for good reason? Does this count as for good reason or not? Not only has Wynn Resorts promised to pay its top executive their salary and bonuses each year for the remaining in their contracts, the CEO has a special agreement that gives him a big extra boost. Steve Wynn is entitled to receive triple his annual allotment for the maximum of up to 4 years. Because it Wynn's employment contract extends through the fall of 2022, so about 4 years from now, he could receive 3 times his annual salary and bonus for the next 4 years. This means his salary of $2.5 million would balloon to a payout around $10 million, and his latest bonus of $25 million, split evenly between cash and stock, would multiply to around $300 million, adding up to a total of around $330 million. Now, the question is, was this for good reason or was this more of something he just had to do? I don't know where that's going to all work out. What I do know as far as, short-term stuff, if he does have to get paid out that $330 million, it could hurt the stock in the short term, but long term, that's such a great company. It's such a well-run company. As long as there's a good economic environment, that company is going to thrive for years to come. When there's obviously a downturn, that company will be hit very hard. But when the times are good, man, they make a lot of money over there. So I would love to see in those comments what you guys think about Snapchat, what you guys think about Steve Wynn stepping down. Did you think it was a move he had to make? I'd love to hear your guys' opinion there on that. Make sure if you're not already, get in my stock market membership group. Like I said, it's got the 12-part full options course in it. It's a third link in the description down there. You definitely want to join. Get in there, guys. You're in there with over 300 super serious investors. Thank you for watching and have a great day.